It was rough. Especially we have C-sections. So she just had sex on the now. We couldn't do the lifestyle.
Poor lady.
She's tough as well. They will go around. Here it is. Take that break from them. You know when's a good time to go by. If that's no, that's fine. I will put this out and I'll probably just shoot an email. Well, not in my way. I wouldn't. That's right. Probably not. Put it right there. Let me write it in email. I remember because I had when I was with Roman, and Charlie, it's Google things in the break. I just well, you if you didn't mention the name, maybe you could talk to your advisor about that. That's why I brought him up. You can actually go around and talk to people. That's fine. Hey, I didn't get a chance to look at it a lot. I guess we're just receiving information. Yeah, so then I can exactly.
Just anyone that has documents.
Good morning. Hi. You too, always. Hey, Denise.
Hey, Chrissy.
Yeah. Thank you.
We love Rebate presentations. Really? You're learning. Better and better.
Hey, I'd much rather be around you outside.
We have that.
No, she's
All right, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If, and like what it says on the agenda, was properly posted on September 15th. And so that's a Scribner's error there, and it's on the front cover page. It's addressed correctly. And I believe we have some Calvi kids that'll help us with our pledge today. Woohoo! Would you like to come forward and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait for a second,
introduce
guys.
themselves?
Yes, come introduce yourselves.
My name is Thomas Calvi. This is Joseph Covey, and this is David.
Did a good job, boys.
Thank you, boys. Thank you.
Okay, is there approval of the minutes from August 19th and September 2nd?
Unless there's any changes, I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
How about the consent docket? Any individual consideration? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Are we not electronic voting? We not voting electronically?
It's not coming up, so.
Okay.
Oh, on anybody?
Mm-mm.
Are they motioning on electronic?
Should be now. So do they need to resubmit their motion? Somebody?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favors? Okay, we'll try it on the next one. Danny?
All right, good morning. Yeah, pull up the PowerPoint, please. Thank you. All right, just gonna hit a couple slides this morning. General fund, we've got a,
Your microphone on?
can you hear me?
Nope. I can't hear you very well.
Louder?
There you go.
All right. The cash balance in general fund is 8.9 million at the end of August. We've collected a little less than 6% of our revenue for the year. The treasurer's office has already done a temporary cash balance of 4 million. I'm sure they'll be doing more here pretty quick to help get us through these next couple months. A couple slides over is employee benefits fund. We have a balance of 823,000, just projecting out the rest of the year just based on the first 2 months of data. We estimate we'll end the year with 1.1 million. There is a recommendation from BET today to put another $1 million into this fund because once we updated our projections based on the actuals through last year, we came up with the recommendation of a total transfer of 3.6. So you'll see that on the BET recommendation. And the very next slide is the list of medical and prescription claims to date. It's going really well. We've paid out 1.2 million more, about 30% more than the same number of weeks last year. But, and John will touch on this, we've received a lot more rebates and some CARES money this year. So the net effect, we're down through September 7th, about 2.8% than what we were a year ago. Thanks to those rebates and the CARES reimbursements. That's all I have on the report.
Questions of Danny? Is there a motion to approve? Somebody?
Is it move to receive?
Yeah.
I'll move to receive.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Cody?
Good morning. Is this on? Yeah. No new items added to the watch list this month. Anticipate that we'll have quite a few added next month based upon our discussions related to the supplement. We do have recommendations on items 34, 37, 38, 39, and 41. So I'll be happy to address those items as you get to them.
Okay. After Mr. Wilkerson, you can just stand by. Is there a motion to receive his report?
I'll move to receive.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
John?
Good morning. Attached to the agenda is just an overview of our medical and prescription claims it looks like through the 11th of September. As Danny said, we're trending well. We're getting a lot more utilization this fiscal year than last fiscal year. If you look at our chart that I put up, each category's increased utilization. We've paid actually 1,844 more medical claims this fiscal year than last. We've paid over 700 more prescription claims than we did last. But the most important thing, if you look on the report, we'll trend down at the bottom, is the net numbers. we're actually, although our utilization's up, our costs are up since we received CARES money. And the biggest thing is prescription rebates. We're actually negative trending now, which is a very positive thing. To put this in perspective, last fiscal year, overall, we received $1.4 million back in prescription rebates. During 3 months of this fiscal year, we received $1.2 million back in prescription rebates. So the plan's working well, and that's really all I have.
Only question I have is,
Sure.
that's great news on the rebates and, offsetting, that you mentioned CARES Act funds. And obviously, that's a finite amount of funds. To what extent, if you had to kind of guess a rough percentage of the positive impact from that and rebates, what percentage of that are the CARES Act funds?
The CARES Act funds are $326,000 for this fiscal year.
Okay, so without that, we would have a negative balance, correct? 'Cause
Yeah,
we're
we
about
would be
105 in the-
we would be over where we are now.
Right.
Instead of being under, we'd be over.
Right, and so still something to keep an eye on. Is great news about the rebates and great work on that, and but just obviously,
checking.
yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is there a motion to receive the report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Cody?
Okay, I believe the $326,000 that Mr. Wilkerson mentioned from this fiscal year, that is this particular agenda item. Mr. Wilkerson and his team have gone through and once again analyzed our plan to see COVID-related expenses on there. They have identified $326,993.86 of COVID-related plan expenses that have not been previously reimbursed. So what this agenda item is here for is to reimburse the employee benefits plan for that particular dollar amount to make it whole.
Questions?
Mr. Wilkerson, can you remind me, where'd you go? There you are. Is this for, what is the length of time that this reimbursement is for?
This should be from the end of May until August 16th.
Okay.
So I've asked for another report to go from the 17th to current, and I haven't received that yet. But this
Okay.
is through August 16th.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
35. Mr. Trumbo, or Eric?
Yes, what I'm asking for here in this agenda item is just a transfer from the Deer Creek Flood Control pot of money to Crutcho. It's temporary in the fact that the Crutcho fund only has approximately about $52,000 that's currently available. I'm getting ready to purchase a house that's $169,000. So this is to cover that cost. At the same time, I'm in the process of doing a reimbursement from the state to get that money back. So hopefully this will be temporary and be back probably within a couple of months, maybe 3 months at most, I'm hoping.
And we've had to do this before, correct?
Yeah, we've done this on previous phases. Yeah.
Okay.
When we approve bonds at the county, they're for specific purposes.
Correct.
And the voters are told that it's Crutcho or it's Deer Creek.
Correct.
Do we have permission to be able to commingle these funds?
Well, they're for similar type of projects, flood control. So that's what allows us to do that. If it was something completely different, it would be.
I asked the same question, and I mean, I'm happy to, Deer Creek's in my area, Crutcho's not. I'm happy for that, to make this happen, to do this. But I did ask that question as well, and evidently bond counsel has approved this in the past, and they would be the ones that would know. Just knowing a little bit about how bonds work, it depends on the exact language in the bond issue. So it's possible that, one of them said this, and then to the extent it's not needed for that, other functions. But anyway, it's been approved by bond counsel in the past, and so evidently
Motion to
something's
approve.
been done. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With the understanding that it is coming back to the Deer Creek thing, so thank you.
Chantel, this is just to keep you under the 90%. So, any questions of her? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Cody.
All right, items 37 and 38 are related. If you recall, several years ago, we split the juvenile budget into two, a bureau budget and a detention budget, and they share expenses. So 37 and 38 are the same expense, it's just split for item 37 is the bureau budget and 38 is the portion related to detention.
Wait.
Yeah, there's,
I'm confused. This is an item related to juvenile?
yeah, hang on.
Yeah, my agenda says it's about general fund revenues and fund balance.
Not to exceed $111 million.
There was a new budget that I got this morning, or I'm sorry, a new packet that I got this morning that has changed the numbers and added a few items.
Okay, while you're up there, which new item is it that we're talking about?
Okay, 37 is the transfer of appropriations. It's on your screen right now from Reserve 995 in an amount of 17,249 to juvenile.
The one on the desk here.
Oh,
There's
no.
a hard copy. The link
Yeah.
was sent out yesterday.
Everyone has this on
with
your
the correct
desk.
So what's
here.
on our screen in front of us is not correct?
No, you need to use this hard copy right here, number 37, that you were
the side.
presented this morning.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Now, are there any questions of Cody?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Can you explain this again of what this item is?
What am I looking at?
Yes, yes. Yes, I have it right here. Yes.
Supplemental information.
And when was this item added?
In time for it to be presented today.
Okay.
So juvenile, with the change in state statute, is requiring juveniles to be housed at a youth detention facility instead of adult detention facility come November 1. So Jamie and her team have been trying to assess the needs that are going to arise due to that change. One of the items that she has identified is the need of an intake officer. Right now, she's receiving YOs, not murder ones. The YOs, she needs this intake officer for that as well to help coordinate. So the funding from items 37 and 38 would be related to that new intake position.
Right, and my understanding, and I know Ms. Overstreet is here, is that this isn't necessarily all that will be needed in order to implement this new state law come November 1, but that the intake is particularly sensitive because that's the main area where right now they would have to be commingled without additional personnel.
Yes, sir. In my through our questioning of Jamie in BET, this is something that they need right now because the YOs are already coming there. They're already having to fingerprint and do all of that, which is an additional item. But this position, regardless of what happens on November 1, they need this now for the structure that they are operating under.
And she's here for any questions, and I see her team's with her. And she has another item here, 43, I believe it is. So if your question bridges over to that item, we can delve into that at this time if you need to.
So the request is for 9 months of salary. The total salary is $49,284.01. It's just split between the bureau and their detention budget. That's why there's two separate agenda items. Item 37 would allow funding for the bureau portion of that expense, and then item 38 would allow salary and benefit dollars to come in for the detention related expenses.
And the detention part gets reimbursed from the state.
Correct, and
But the
that's why
bureau
we
part
have
does not,
the,
right?
that's why we've done the split in the past, so that we can seek reimbursement for the detention-related expenses. But some of the work that this individual will do won't be related specifically to detention. That's the reason why the budget is split and the expense is thus split.
Okay, did a good job explaining. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Concurrent item on 38. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And again, 39.
All right, 39 is similar to 37 and 38. The situation will be exacerbated come November 1, but the need is still there currently. The YOs that are coming in, they're not being fingerprinted at the jail, so they're having to make alternative arrangements. With 39, that will give them the money to purchase a fingerprint ID system so that they can begin fingerprinting on site.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Cody.
Mr. Chairman, how are we going to rectify the difference between the electronic agenda and the agenda we have in our personal?
Well, I think that they
Because
are on the votes, right, Danny?
The votes we took on electronically involved items that didn't reflect actually what we were discussing at the time.
We'll have to record them manually then. Yeah.
It'll be taken
Based
care
on
of.
the actual hard
Thank
copy.
All right. Danny?
All right. You want to pull up that attachment, the other one? That one, yep. Okay, you'll recall back in April, we gave you the estimated general fund budget revenues, and then in September, we update them. So the first column is what we adopted with the original budget. The second column are the updated figures based on the assessed valuations, based on actual collections through the end of June. Of course, the biggest number is the number provided by the assessor's office, line 1. That's 77.7 million. That's a 3.1% increase over what we had budgeted. And then all the other revenue items down the line, a lot of them are just at 90% of what we actually collected. So we have a total revenue projection, 98,517,940. We also updated the fund balance, which is 12,900,386 for a total of 111,418,326. That gives us a supplement of 5,613,359.
Mr. Warren, I know you had some comments that you want to talk about.
I'm going to support this budget today. And I know you're all aware that I am not satisfied with the lack of funds to address the pay equity of my employees. And so what I'm asking for is a special BET meeting in the next week to address the remaining questions, and a special budget board meeting next week to address this matter.
I know part of what you want in a conversation I've had with you is about getting information to satisfy BET's concerns with some of that information, which will require coming from the clerk's office. So is that a reasonable time frame for you, Danny, that you think you could accommodate gathering the information he needs?
Yeah, I think so. Just information on a payroll, the salaries by department. Yeah, we can provide that in time.
And in my conversations with Mr. Warren, it was about trying to decide if we were for true parity where we're at with beginning hires, and it may cause an awakening of where we're at for other departments as well. And so I appreciate your willingness to adopt this today and then revisit this shortly in the clerk's office for being able to present us the information that BET was hoping to get. Any other questions or discussion about this item? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
All right, this is item 41 on the new agenda. If you're looking online, it's the item 38. There is an attachment on there. I also put at your desk a highlighted version of that same attachment. It's identical. It's just I highlighted a few items and circled, put a couple circles on there for you. Those items that I highlighted are the items that BET is recommending in the supplement. Danny mentioned there was a little over $5.5 million of supplement dollars. We have relooked at all of the original requests, and our recommendation is encapsulated in those highlights. Those that are looking online, those are all the items in column F and column G. Column G, we are recommending a 2% merit-based salary adjustment to all the general fund departments. Danny has done an analysis to see who didn't qualify for that. That was backed out when the 2% was generated. So those dollars would be allowed for merit-based increases. And then on column F, those are individual line item adjustments that BET is recommending.
Can you say again what item?
On the
We're
old
on-
agenda, it's 38. On the new agenda, it's 41.
Okay.
And then remind me on the employee benefits, $1 million, the single largest item other than just putting a reserve. That's just to be on the safe side for claims that may come in and et cetera. Is that correct?
Our understanding is it's a little more urgent than that on the million. That's something that has been identified as being needed in the very near future. We're going to place, anticipatorily, we're going to be placing $2.6 million. I believe that was the number on the
1.6.
1.6. Yeah, the total was 2.6. We're moving one. So we're going to put 1.6 million on the watch list based upon the analysis backing out COVID expenses like what you mentioned earlier, because we don't know if we're going to have money to continue doing those reimbursements. So it's something that we're going to have to continue to watch through the rest of the fiscal year. But this million is needed fairly immediately.
Well, that's a pretty sizable, increase in the budget. Maybe Mr. Wilkerson, if you could explain.
And some of it's related to, we were anticipating a higher amount of rollover, but there were more expenses at the end of last fiscal year, so we didn't have as much rolled over.
Yeah, that is the main reason. We ended up, when we did our projections back in April, we had to estimate the last 3 months, which is how we came up with the original transfer amount. The last 3 months came in higher than anticipated, so we ended the year with a balance about $800,000 less than we had thought. And then the way we estimate the next fiscal year is based on actual claims paid through June. So we took a 2% increase of that number, which was higher than what was budgeted to begin with, which is why
And just as a reminder, every year we have to transfer a big portion into employee benefits to cover our retirees. There's no mechanism to collect those premiums on the employer side. So that's part of the employer transfer that's calculated in our actuary study in our budget. And traditionally, we haven't transferred all that they've said we needed to transfer.
Nowhere close.
Nowhere close.
But we had more forfeitures this year than normal, so we were cushioned more than that could have been. And to your credit, Danny, you warned us about this a couple of months ago. So thanks for giving us notice.
Is the amount of this, and I recognize that we have had to, put funds into employee benefits, obviously a very critical, function, and you do great work, but that's that's about 15%, of your budget that we're swinging. That we weren't expecting 800,000. That's a pretty big adjustment. I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. We should do this, but I'm just saying that that's somewhat alarming if you're having that large a jump in something that is A, critical to do, and B, cost of it isn't going down.
And I think we didn't start the year with the actuarial transfer requested amounts. We always start way under of what the actuary says we should to cover our retiree costs. So we've saved money in the past and haven't transferred all that money over, because once it goes into employee benefits, it can't come back out.
Okay.
So we're still running way ahead of where we should be, if that makes sense, or in a better position, because we've transferred less money than the actuary says.
You explained it well when you said, and you're correct with the risk of loss and all that. Once it goes in, it can't come out. That I understand, and that makes sense of it. Thank you.
But to point out, if we work on employee retention by increasing their pay, there'll be less forfeitures, so there'll be another goose egg coming behind it. because
Right.
we have to pay that defined benefit plan. So just so you know, we've really relied on those forfeitures a lot.
And so we were more comfortable with the remaining 1.6 going in and putting that on the watch list instead of moving it in right now.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
You bet.
Further questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Danny?
All right. The next item is adopting the supplement, the 5.6 million, and as to how this board wants to allocate those funds. If we take the BET recommendation just made or any other changes.
Is there any questions?
What
Delve
item-
into any
What item are
specifics?
we on?
Okay.
42, thank you.
Are there any specifics that people want to question? If not, is there a motion to approve the supplement?
I'll move to approve it.
Second.
This is based on the recommendations of the BET.
Correct.
Yeah. I should point out that it has been thoroughly discussed by the BET and lots of public opportunity for transparency on that. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Our thanks to the BET, by the way, for helping hash out. Those were some, this wasn't as flush as a budget we've had in the past, so there were some hard decisions to make. Okay, and this is the budget right here. You want to have any discussion about this?
Yeah, number 43, that's the official document we file with the State Auditor's Office. Every county is required to prepare these type of financial statements. They're on cash basis. Our county, we also do a CAFR, accrual basis, but this is required. So based on this vote today and the financials as of June 30th of 2001.
Okay, the levy listed in here, that's just what we already have, correct?
That's correct.
It's not a-
10.35
right,
for
it's not
general
an
fund,
additional
that's
levy,
always
yeah.
set, correct. That's the set amount.
And the sinking fund is also current, what we have.
The sinking fund is based on the amount of judgments and bond payments that we have coming up next fiscal year. Yes, sir.
Any further questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now, Jamie.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so I would like to talk to you about the implementation of House Bill 2311, and that is the law that goes into effect November 1st, which moves the initial booking, admissions, and housing of Murder 1 for persons under the age of 18. They will now go directly to juvenile, and that's where they will stay. I thought that I'm not sure everyone's level of knowledge about exactly what we do, the type of offenders we have, and this bill. So I'll try and run through this pretty quickly because I know some of you are very familiar with it, but please feel free to interrupt me with any questions or anything as we go along. All right, so we have three categories of offenders. We have juvenile delinquents, and those are the kids that are 11 to 17 that have been coming to juvenile detention in Oklahoma County ever since its inception. They're mostly nonviolent crimes. They're not youthful offender crimes, which are much more serious and violent, and they're not Murder 1. So it's not uncommon. In fact, today we have 6 of our juvenile delinquents are ages 13 and 14 for things like possession of a stolen vehicle or unauthorized use of a vehicle. So that's the kind of category that we have done traditionally since the inception of our facility. We are and were, I guess I'll say, designed as a temporary holding facility. That's what juvenile detention facilities have been across history, across the nation. This reform, the federal reform, and now the Oklahoma law is a sweeping change from how we have operated. We have youthful offenders. That is in the law now and has been for several years. that those youthful offenders could come to us or to the county. And up until June 19th of 2019, they always went to the county. They never came to detention. But a administrative order was issued in June of 2019, which changed that. And they still went to the county, and we would go over and assess them to determine if they were appropriate, and then we would have them moved to juvenile. Everyone was appropriate because, I mean, we didn't know if they were going to be a security risk or a behavior problem that we couldn't manage until we gave them that opportunity. I think in 2 years we may have sent back about maybe 5, maybe less than 5. And that was only after numerous assaults committed on staff or other kids. So we've pretty much been in the youthful offender business now for a couple of years. House Bill 2311 now adds the third category, which are persons under the age of 18 who have been charged with murder 1. The statute that's currently on the books prohibits those people from coming to juvenile detention. 2311, House Bill 2311, effective November 1st, will change that, and they will come to us. I just wanted to give you a little history so you can kind of understand how this has evolved. So when the Department of Health went in and did their inspection of the county jail recently, as you know, they revoked their certification, and no juvenile could be there. And they gave them 3 days to get them out. So I believe they had 2, maybe 3 youthful offenders that had been sent back, and we immediately moved those to our facility. They had murder 1s, and they couldn't come to us. So as you know, after many phone calls and checks, they were able to get a contract with Pawnee County. Now, Pawnee County can house 13 males and 1 female. That's it. And as of today, they are full. So what will happen is if a person under the age of 18 gets picked up for murder 1, the police are going to have to take them to the county for booking and then bring them to us. And we'll have to put them in a holding cell, and then we yield to the presiding judge and the chief judge of juvenile as to whether or not they can remain, since technically the law prohibits it. They'll make that decision, and I guess more than likely the decision will be that they can remain because they're coming anyway November 1st, and there's really nowhere else for them to go. So that could happen. We are now in a position where that could happen today. One thing about House Bill 2311, I mentioned to you that when we started taking the youthful offenders, I had the authority to send them back. I don't have that authority anymore after November 1st. The only review that can be conducted to remove someone from juvenile detention will only be the murder 1s, and it will require a court hearing, and the court has to decide if it's in the interest of justice to put them in an adult jail. And there's 7 factors that they consider, and they have to do a written report, rule that to happen, and then have a hearing at least every 30 days thereafter to determine if that person should still remain in an adult jail. And for those reasons, I believe, at least for now, I don't know how it might change in the future, should that occur, I believe the trust has a 2-year agreement with Pawnee County, because if the court ordered a murder 1 kid to be put back in an adult facility, they can't go to Oklahoma County right now. So I'm assuming that that's probably what we would have to do. Now, Pawnee County, for those of you who may or may not be aware, they started out with a per diem rate of $45 a day. And they were going to provide medical expenses and an educational program, which is required. That has now changed. They have raised their per diem to $90 a day, and they're requiring the trust to provide for those medical expenses and to figure out how to get education into Pawnee County. So they're having some struggles. Since August 1st, they've had over $6,000 in damage due to disturbances. They've had staff resign saying the kids go or I go, which it's not funny, but it's kind of funny because they just don't know how to manage them. They've had female officer threatened to be taken hostage and raped. They have a lot of trouble right now with racial and gang tension. And we believe that the primary reason that that's occurring is that they don't have any way to separate them. They have one pod that's separate from their adult inmates. So that's the only place the juveniles can be held. And it's kind of an open bay type situation during waking hours. And so there's nowhere else to put them if a problem happens. They can't move them to another unit. And that's really created, I think, some difficulty for Pawnee County, but they're hanging in there as far as I know. Yes, sir.
I think we're all pretty familiar with this from BET, not to make you go through a lot. This is a very thorough presentation that you've given. I thought maybe what might be more helpful is if people could ask you specific questions from what their staff has communicated with them. And I know you've got Mr. Turner here and others that might be available too for questions. So is there anybody from the budget board? I know this is a big challenge that you're having to face, and I appreciate you trying to deal with it the best you've been able to. Mr. Stein?
The thing that caught my interest was the Pawnee County has increased their per diem rate from $45 to $90 a day. Do they have statutory authority to do that? And can you cite that statute for our sheriff? Because we'd like to increase our daily rate too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't answer that question.
Is there other questions? Ultimately, Jamie, you've got an ask here at the bottom. You want to get to that?
Sure. Thank you for making it easier on me.
Well, you've done a lot of homework here. It's here for, I'm not trying to cut anybody off from it, but
No, I appreciate it. Today is just a receiving the report anyway, which gives us time for me to do any kind of individual meetings, answer questions or concerns.
and while it's not an action item on here, though, I do know that ultimately you're going to need something, so you could serve us notice of what you feel like you're going to need to accommodate.
Yes, sir. Okay, on the very last page is the total request. So we have asked for the fingerprinting system, which you approved today, and thank you very much. We asked for the intake specialist position, and you also approved that. Appreciate that. We are looking at what mental health needs we have. We originally, when we talked to BET, we asked for a licensed mental health position. And after discussing it with them, and then again yesterday with policy and governance, we've decided that we'll explore all the options possible. There may be a contract option. There may be University of Oklahoma may have some resources. So we're going to really thoroughly check into that before we push for a specific position. So we know we need mental health support, but that's on hold. And then detention officers. We need 15 detention officers, and that's the big ticket item for a total ask right now of $827,113. That includes the $60,000 for mental health, so you could take that out for now. But the 15 detention officers it's only 3 posts. It's 3 additional posts, but it requires relief, days off, and so when you use the federal model to calculate your relief factor, 3 posts is 15 officers.
And these, when you say detention officers, 46,000 each, is that including fringe benefits?
Yes, that's the cost for each one for 10 months.
So what is their beginning pay minus the benefits? Do you know what the actual?
26 something a month.
How much?
29.97
A month.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any questions of Jamie about this?
I assume that the only other comparable county to us trying to ramp up in this way is Tulsa County. Do you know if they're facing similar needs where they're having to staff up? And I don't know what their situation is.
Do you have any more recent information from them?
Actually,
badge.
they're not even close to us on the numbers though, are they? They
No.
really aren't a peer from
No.
what I understood in the past. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That actually might be a useful data point, to have, not right now, but when you can, is comparable, murder ones for juveniles, by population for Tulsa County, maybe if you've got it for other counties as well.
Okay.
That might be a useful data point to have.
I'm having some trouble with the math. You said they get around 2,600 a month, is that correct? This 46,000, if multiply 2,600 times 10, that's 26,000.
That's the fringe benefits.
Right.
Then you add 20% for fringe benefits.
No, that's including in it. That's why I asked her what it really was, because that's the fringe benefit package. That's. Any other questions? Is there a motion to receive her report?
I'll move. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you to the GB team for being here and being available. Mr. Turner, always good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any citizens wishing to speak before the budget board? Seeing or hearing none, we'll start with board comments with the assessor.
I just want to make everyone know that I think today is the first time in the history of budget board meetings that I've attended where the word commingle has come up twice. I enjoyed very much visiting with the commissioner over the weekend, or coffee with the commissioner, and appreciate everybody's efforts. Thank you.
We would like to point out that the treasurer's office has dramatically stepped up their game for this meeting.
No comment.
Okay. District 3.
I would say in advance of tomorrow, happy Constitution Day. Tomorrow is the anniversary of the enactment of the U.S. Constitution, and a great day. It's and probably the most successful Constitution in history for a republic.
District 1.
I do want to add on to something Mr. Warren commented about, making sure that folks are paid appropriately in those entry-level positions. I think a couple folks had been supportive of doing a pay study or a work time study. I don't know the exact word of it, to make sure that we are paying across the board our entry-level positions and really all positions appropriately. So I hope we can look into that and start working on that.
Yeah, my guess is it's going to be pretty eye-opening across the board. Yeah. Court clerk?
No comment.
Clerk? Sheriff?
Nothing.
Okay, and as was mentioned, I will call a special meeting for this continued discussion, and I'm resistant to do that, so that's a reflection on how serious we take your request. Okay, any new business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.